Good morning, this is Brian Ham with your situational update on the line incident. I'd like to start off by talking about the containment line. Right now we have containment line going from Angeles Oaks all the way down the bottom of the fire and spreading up to close to Running Springs, right at the corner of Running Springs community of San Bernardino County. In that area, we have crews that are still out patrolling. They are out looking for any kind of hot spots that kind of come up on the fire's edge. And currently we have the weather really in our favor with the cloud cover. We have the higher relative humidities, the low temperatures, but that weather system is going to be changing over the weekends to some drier, more higher temperatures in the fire perimeter area. Moving up to the Running Springs area, we have crews that are continuing to be underneath the homes. The fire's perimeter actually butts up right underneath the homes of the Running Springs community. We still have fire engines and hand crews that are out there hitting any kind of hot spots that are could potentially endanger any of those homes or spot over the edge of the fire. So underneath the Running Springs area, we have crews that are continuously working. These pieces out in the middle here where it shows the fire perimeter around it, and then we have unburned material that is underneath it. We have hand crews that have been out there diligently cutting the edge of that fire, putting a bare mineral soil around the edge so that way we can get more containment efforts in those islands. We have two big islands that the crews have been hard at work for the past couple of weeks now, continuously cutting that out with hose lines out there, spraying water on any kind of hot material. What we call this area in this drainage is a finger, where the fire's edge comes down and then back up. It looks like a V shape. Yesterday we had completed the direct control edge where our hand crews went down and cut all that out, so that way that there's a space between the actual fire and the unburned vegetation. So that is all cut out. The hottest portion of this piece is right near the bottom. And now near the bottom, there's some heat in there. And so we have crews that are continuously in there trying to get that heat out. It's a very long distance and it's very steep to get to the bottom. So the trick has been getting water in there to put that out. So crews continue to work on that. This is somewhat of a threat as the temperatures increase and the RHs decrease. It could substantially in the coming days. Potentially, it could cause more heat, which causes it to come up that drainage, which is a concern to us. However, firefighters are really good at being in there and getting all that heat out of there before the weather changes. Coming up to the top here, where it kind of runs over to the Bear Creek drainage. We have hose in there, we have crews in there. We had a lot of spots that kind of ran up when we had the higher temperatures, spotted over the line and created little spots all along that edge. We have put fire line in there and we have hose in there, we have water on it. All of those spots have been lined and crews continuously are spraying water on that, on all those hot spots, which are extinguished. But what happens with the vegetation is it dries out, it gets into the soil, gets into the roots, and then it reignites. But crews are in there watching that area, continuously putting those out. Going into the Bear Creek area, we have crews that are trying to find access into there. On the west side of the Bear Creek, they found a trail that they're working in to get to the bottom of that to see if we can start getting the bottom of the Bear Creek drainage with some perimeter line coming back up to the west. Moving up over towards the Big Bear area, on this corner over here, we have crews that are cutting down into the Bear Creek drainage from that edge, and they're putting direct control line on it. However, it's very steep. There's a lot of rocks that are roll out. It could potentially injure firefighters. So they're trying to find areas of opportunity where they can get in there. The Bear Creek area also has aircraft on it, which with our rotary wing helicopters, and they're doing what's called bucket work. And the bucket work is they're flying in from the helibase down in Redlands all the way up, and they're dropping water on the edge of that fire line to try and get any kind of heat out of there. It's supporting the crews that are trying to work into the Bear Creek area, and while watching it to make sure it doesn't come out of there and make any significant runs. Again, the fire weather forecast is looking good up until the weekend, and then it starts to dry out, so we have to be cautious of our actions in there to make sure that our firefighters are continue to be safe. Over in the Clark's Grade area, we had some runs coming up to Deer Creek, and we were able to catch it. There was with some dozer lines. So we have bulldozers that went in there. They cut down right down to the bare mineral soil, creating a line on a ridge top all the way down towards the Santa Ana drainage. And with that, we have crews with hose and water in there along the edge to make sure there's no potential of this fire growing more to the east, putting it further under the Big Bear community. So crews are in there on the Clark's grade, and they're continuously making sure that all those hot spots are continue to be within the fire perimeter and nothing comes out of there. Moving down to the Angeles Oaks area, Angeles Oaks, there is an area in there where it goes from the top of the ridge down to the Santa Ana drainage, which is very steep and inaccessible. We have aircraft that's working in that area and all those hot spots to make sure that that doesn't come out of control and that that fire doesn't move to the east. We have indirect fire line, which the indirect fire line is it's area between the burned area, and we'll have fresh green vegetation and then a line that comes around. That's due to the access. We're not able to get into the steep drainage area of the Santa Ana, so we have to go indirect out in front of it. So that way, if the fire were to come out, that if there was any runs, it would butt up against that bulldozer line and would be extinguished, along with our ground forces down at the bottom. Coming down to the south of Angeles Oaks is where our containment line starts, which, as I stated in the beginning of this, we have crews that are in there patrolling and finding any hot spots, seek and destroy missions, which a lot of the smokes in this area are well interior, but we still have crews that are hiking in to put it out. Along with that, we have our night flying helicopters, which we continue to provide to our crews at night. So that way helicopters can come in and provide assistance to our firefighters continuing to do that bucket work, which has the helicopter with the buckets underneath it dropping the water on the hot spots of the fire. And with that, that's the end of the report.